Hey guys, it's me, Bob. Sorry about the voice, I have a cold. So, sometimes I come on here and I give you my spiel about how I would fix a movie property that has gone bad. But sometimes you don't actually have to wait for them to make a movie to know a project is a bad idea, like remaking Escape from New York, which is apparently something someone is gonna try again. So cutting right to the chase, since this idea is pretty much pre-fucked right out of the gate, here's how I would pre-fix a remake of Escape from New York. Okay, so the number one most obvious way to fix the inherent problems built into remaking Escape from New York is to not remake Escape from New York. It's a stupid idea, it won't work, just stop right there. Here's the thing, some movies belong to their era explicitly because they only exist because of the moment in time in which they came into being. And while yes, Escape from New York works as a fun action film, the reason it's more than all the other films that it imitated it is because it was also a topical, satirical film of its own immediate world. I mean, yeah, the basic idea of turning Manhattan into an open-air prison colony in the near future is essentially inspired, but what made it more than just a great setting was that it worked as a commentary on the inwardly collapsing state of New York City at that time, and what made it biting was that audiences could recognize that the dark future John Carpenter imagined for the city didn't seem that far removed from the reality of the present. But that New York City, it doesn't exist anymore. There's nothing biting about sending the new Snake Plissken into an apocalyptic future New York that even remotely resembles the original film, because that kind of imagined future has about as much to do with the smoothed over, cleaned up, gentrified New York City of today as it does with fucking Narnia. Now, to be fair, it sounds like the new movie acknowledges this instead, so they're gonna do a thing about Plissken having to infiltrate a false utopian, ultra-cleaned-up New York, and now it's going to be all about mass surveillance and the security state, which, alright, sounds like maybe an okay movie, but it's not Escape from New York. Escape from New York is fundamentally sending a grim, exaggerated piss take on a tough guy action hero. We all still get that, by the way, right? That Snake is meant to be funny, that giving Kurt Russell a stupid eye patch and a sleazy tattoo and having him growl all his dialogue is a gag, because at the time he was still mainly remembered as being a kid in Disney movies, just making sure.
Your rules are really beginning to annoy me.
Anyway, sending a guy like that into a futuristic hostile location whose state is similarly exaggerated for satire reflection of a present-day reality. The original was about New York in the 80s and, more broadly, the endemic failures of mid-20th century urban planning. Escape from LA was about Los Angeles in the 90s because by then LA had become the national model of imagined social collapse. So you don't do a remake, you do another sequel, or a tribute, or homage, or whatever. Look, this isn't a franchise where continuity and internal logic are especially prized, which is why you shouldn't be asking how they turn the electricity back on after the second one. They just do, okay? Maybe you bring back Kurt Russell, maybe you get his kid and do Son of Snake, maybe you just get somebody totally new, whatever. Bottom line, you need something new for 2016 to be escaped from while making a poignant, blunt statement about present-day problems. And I just don't think a different city is gonna cut it. I mean, Escape from LA wasn't actually that good, remember? And even then, what are the options? Escape from Chicago? Detroit? Cleveland? Boston, maybe? Would any of it not just be the first movie with a new paint job? No. I think if you're gonna do this, you gotta do something totally different and much, much bigger. So let me hit you with a title. Catchy, right? And aside from being attention-grabbing and providing a natural stepping stone to Escape from Earth, which John Carpenter and Kurt Russell have both talked up in the past as a logical final adventure for Snake Plissken, it suggests tons of different directions you could go. Like, I don't know, maybe things fall apart so much in the United States that the entire rest of the world makes it a quarantine zone? I mean, shit, that doesn't sound nearly as implausible as it would have even a month ago. And speaking of jokes come horrifyingly to life, that suggests another possibility. See, one of the reasons a straight remake of Escape from New York or LA doesn't work anymore, like I said, is that the cultural idea of coastal megalopolises as pits of apocalyptic chaos just isn't really the thing it used to be. In the popular imagination, New York now looks like Friends and Sex and the City, while the West Coast looks like reality TV McMansions, a Hollywood that's more dorky than decadent, and an ever-sprawling tech sector. Ooh, scary. I mean, yeah, some of that is scary, but it's not We Need Snake Plissken scary. But while the urban, metropolitan, coastal United States is doing pretty well for itself, if you listen to a lot of the punditry, the reason there's so much red, or rather orange, on the electoral map this time around was that the middle parts of the country have been getting kind of pissed off about being left behind by an evolving global economy, shifting various industries into either automation or the developing world, and American wealth, influence, and focus being increasingly consolidated in the country's financial and cultural capitals on the coast. Basically, 1980s New York-style urban decay and/or 90s LA-style inner-city chaos are no longer the main immediate go-to visual metaphors for the death of the American dream. Now it's blighted farmland, abandoned suburbs, fallen mill and factory towns, people's fucking water catching on on fire because of fracking. No judgment being passed here, folks, just describing. Now, you take all that very sad stuff and turn it up to 11, just like the original Escape from New York did for the also very sad stuff it was ripping on, well, you'd basically end up with Middle American Mad Max. Now, that's a scenario you want to send Snake Plissken into. It's also, almost too poetically, an inversion of the original premise. Instead of the rest of the country walling off New York or LA, this could be a near future where, say, the United States has amicably divided into separate, thriving, independent, ultramodern nation-states situated on the east and west coast, with an expanse of abandoned territory slowly being reclaimed by nature and populated by dangerous communities of rogue humanity made twisted and violent by self-exile from modernity in the middle. And that's the forbidden zone where Snake or whoever has to go and do whatever it is they'll have to do. See, already you're changing up the formula with all the different terrain the action would have to cover. Forests, canyons, deserts, big sky country, mountain ranges, and I mean, there's genre precedent for this particular urban fears of rural America visual metaphor. It's basically Texas Chainsaw, Hills Have Eyes, Deliverance, but instead of just one family of bloodthirsty backwoods caricatures, you'd have whole fucking armies of them to fight through. Maybe also some specifically satirical dark side of the heartland business, like Klansmen, megachurch zealots, dudes who are way too into guns. And before anybody says, hey, those are borderline offensive regional stereotypes, yeah, they are. Have you seen the other two movies? Escape from LA had a plastic surgery cult. Besides, Snake Plissken is also probably the sort of person who isn't going to fit into the utopian coastal megacities, so there'd probably be some stuff in there about how the big city folk aren't as culturally superior and blameless as they think they are, like in Demolition Man. We've all seen Demolition Man, right? No? See Demolition Man. But yeah, anyway, invert the premise, think bigger, keep the topical edginess. That's how I'd fix an Escape from New York remake. If one has to happen. Which it shouldn't. Unless they want to buy this pitch, of course, in which case I can be reached through